There's a level of focus that makes you inconvenient for the people around you. Not because you're loud, but because when you enter your work, you disappear. You don't try hard. You don't get distracted. Have you met people like that? They don't fuss. They don't explain themselves. They don't complain about burnout, while everyone else negotiates with their brain. Now, later, just one more minute. They simply do it. And you know what people say about them? He got lucky. She's talented. He's like that because he has an iron character. Lie. Because focus isn't a gift. Focus is a hard system of removal. In Tokugawa-era Japan, there was a way to train the mind so it wouldn't stick to distractions. A monk wrote about it in Letters to Warriors. If the mind hand stops even on a single object, the correct action slips away. And he gave a metaphor that will make something click for you. If your gaze gets stuck on one leaf, you stop seeing the whole tree. This isn't philosophy for beauty's sake. It's a military manual for life. How to remove everything that steals your attention and become dangerously productive. But there's a price. This method requires you to kill one part of yourself, the part that wants tiny pleasures every 20 seconds. And until you kill it, distractions will keep killing you. Before we begin, do one simple thing in the presence and path style. Subscribe, hit like, and write in the comments. Which distraction steals the most time from you? Your phone? People? Procrastination? Fantasies? Food? Your comment is the first public lock-in. Discipline starts there. Back to the story. Chapter 1. The Scribe Who Was Drowning, Awakening. The story I'm about to tell happened in Edo, a city where paper decided fates just as much as a sword. A man lived there named Hayato. Not a warrior, not a samurai. A scribe in the rice administration, the man who records deliveries, debts, and ration allocations. Hayato was an ordinary good man. He woke up early, he respected elders, he didn't steal, but he had a disease that back then wasn't called a disease yet. A mind that jumped. He would sit down with the scrolls, and a minute later he'd think about the market, then about what his boss would say, then about the girl from the tea house, then about how tired he was, and how he deserved a small reward. Every day he promised himself, today no mistakes. And every day the mind drifted away. One day he mixed up 2 lines in a report. Not a tragedy, just 2 lines. But those exact 2 lines meant a village would receive less rice than it needed, and in a week, fights would begin there. The boss didn't shout. He did something worse. He silently placed the mistaken scroll in front of Hayato and said, "Tomorrow you won't come here." Hayato walked out into the street like a man without skin. The noise of Edo hammered his head, and for the first time he understood. I'm not lazy, I'm falling apart. That night, he didn't go to friends, and he didn't go to the tea house. He went to a small temple on the outskirts because it was quiet there. And there, among the smell of wood and old smoke, he saw an old monk. The monk looked at the garden as if he could see an entire lifetime at once. "You look like a man whose mind is stuck on one leaf, and that's why he can't see the tree," the monk said. Hayato flinched. I can't hold my attention," the old man nodded. "Then you came to the place where attention isn't held. It's Fridanto." And Hayato still didn't know this would be the beginning of a war. Not with the world, with himself. But the scariest part was waiting for him in the morning. Chapter 2. The Price of the Motionless Sword. What really steals focus. At dawn, the monk led Hayato to a pond. Leaves floated on the water. One leaf had stuck to the edge of a stone. "Look," the monk said. The leaf stopped. The water didn't. So what? Your mind is like that leaf. It latches onto one thing, a thought, an anxiety, a pleasure. And you call that's just me. Then he said a sentence Hayato remembered forever. If the mind stops on, the correct action slips away. It sounds like mysticism, but it's the physics of attention. Modern research calls this attention residue. When you switch tasks, part of your mind stays in the previous task and cuts your effectiveness. Science direct. And the more often you jump between things, the more you pay a switching tax. Semanticscholar.org. The monk didn't know those words, but he knew the consequences. You think your problem is weak willpower, he said. No, your problem is too many doors. Doors? Every distraction is a door. While the doors are open, it feels like you're choosing. In reality, you're being chosen. And then he warned, we won't add habits. We will remove. Hayato felt relief, and immediately fear. What should I do? The monk raised a finger. First, we will kill your main illusion. The illusion that I can stay strong while I'm next to temptation. Isn't that how you train strength? No. Strength doesn't start with fighting. Strength starts with you. Not leaving the enemy in the room. And he gave Hayato the first rule. Chapter 3. The one-room rule. Removing the environment. Today you will rewrite your scrolls in one room, the monk said, and you will bring nothing in there except brush and paper. Hayato smirked. Nothing? Nothing. No sweets, no conversations, no little break, no extra objects. Why so radical? The monk looked at him the way you look at a child arguing with fire. Because you overestimate yourself. You think your mind is stronger than the bait, but the bait is built like a hook. In the modern world, that hook is the phone, and it works especially hard because of variable reinforcement. You don't know whether there will be a reward next time, so you check again and again, like gambling mechanics. Behavior info. And here's the key point. People think they're weak. In reality, they just left a high slot machined on their desk. Hayato began the experiment. Day 1. He lasted 17 minutes. Then his mind howled. I'll just step out, see what's happening. I earned it. He stood up and saw the monk by the door. Where to? Just for a minute. Then you lost. Hayato sat back down. Day 3. He lasted 40 minutes. Day 7. An hour. Day 14. 2 hours. And on the 14th day, something strange happened. He realized it wasn't him holding focus. Focus was holding him. When there were no doors around. But then the next problem began. He learned to work in silence, and still he broke. Because the doors weren't only outside. Chapter 4. The enemy in your pocket, microchecks and cutting rituals. The monk gave Hayato a new task. Now we'll see how you lose not for hours, in seconds. I don't understand. You think distraction is when you go to the market? No. Distraction is when you do a tiny check. I'll just look. I'll just clarify. Just 1 second. In the modern world, it looks like this. You pick up your phone for a minute, and your brain is already gone. There are observations that people often reach for the phone specifically in micro-pauses, between actions, on the edge of tasks. The Guardian. Not because they need to, but because the mind can't tolerate emptiness. Emptiness is the entrance to mastery, the monk said, and you're afraid of it. And he gave a ritual that sounds humiliatingly simple. The gate ritual, 7 seconds. Before starting any work, 1. Straighten your back. Exhale. Say one task out loud. Remove everything extra. Begin. Is that all? Hayato asked. That isn't all. That's a knife. Your attention doesn't die from big mistakes. It dies from small holes. And he explained the logic in a way Hayato couldn't argue with for the first time. When you jump between tasks, part of your attention stays behind. That's the residue. Science direct. And constant switching creates a real cost in time and quality. Semanticscholar.org. Hayato started doing the gates. Day 1, he forgot. Day 4, he remembered every other time. Day 10, he did it automatically. Chapter 5. Hunger for pleasure, dopamine, craving, and cutting rewards. Good. Now you're ready for what breaks most people. We won't fight distractions. We will remove the desire to be distracted. Eat, he said. Hayato laughed. That's one breath. Exactly. Is this punishment? It's diagnostics. Hayato ate and felt anger. He wanted more. See? The monk nodded. You're not hungry. You had demand. What does this have to do with focus? Directly. Your brain is used to getting a small reward constantly. Sweetness, conversation, news, stimulation. And when you sit down to work, it screams, "Where's my reward?" Modern neuroscience describes this through dopamine signals linked to expectation and reward prediction error. The brain reacts especially strongly to unpredictability of outcomes. DiscoveryAber.com and unpredictable treats, notifications, new messages, form the habit of checking again and again. Caltech. "We'll do it like this," the monk said. "For 3 days you work with no rewards inside the block. At all? At all. No break in the form of entertainment. A break is water, walking, breathing, not stimulation." It sounded cruel, but Hayato agreed. Day 1, withdrawal. Day 2, irritation. Day 3, silence. On the 3rd day, he caught a moment only people who've truly worked deep can describe. The mind stopped demanding. And then the monk said, "Aye, now we move to the main thing, to the form that makes focus iron." Aye, form sounded like a martial arts word, but it turned out to be a word about schedule. Chapter 6. The Iron Hour, Fixed Time and Depth. "Your focus dies because every time you decide," the monk said, "when to work, how long to work, where to start, how to start. Isn't that bad? It's poison. You spend strength on choosing, not on acting." He set the rule. The same hour. Every day, the same deep work block. No bargaining, no discussion. Hayato chose dawn. "Why dawn?" the monk asked. "Because the world hasn't crawled into my head yet." Correct, not optimization. Elimination. And here's an important thing. Multitasking looks pretty only from the outside. Inside the brain, it often turns into worse attention control. For example, a study on media multitaskers showed that those who scatter more can be worse at filtering distracting information. Semanticscholar.org. Hayato did the block. Day 7, he started entering it faster. Day 14, the brain stopped arguing. Day 40, he noticed something scary. When the iron hour begins, the body sits down and starts by itself. But then a new loophole appeared. He stopped arguing about when and started arguing about what exactly to do. And the monk smiled, because he had been waiting for that. Chapter 7. One sequence, killing the what. "The mind will always find a crack," the monk said. "If it can't bargain over time, it will bargain over content." And he gave a rule that makes most people itch. The same sequence for 30 days. One entry, one task, one order of actions. That's boring. Boredom is the gatekeeper. And here the magic of automation happens. When you repeat an action in the same context, it moves from the expensive decision-making mode into a more automatic one. Constant switching and variability keep you in choosing mode, expensive and fragile. Semanticscholar.org. Hayato made the sequence. 1. The gate ritual, 7 seconds. 5 minutes of warm-up, rewrite 1 paragraph neatly. 50 minutes, the main task. 5 minutes, write down the result on paper. On day 21, he noticed he was no longer looking for the mood. He simply entered. Chapter 8. Pre-decided answers, a plan for distractions. "Why did you fail before?" the monk asked. Hayato began listing. Fatigue, people, noise, anxiety, urgent matters. "No," the monk said. "You failed for one reason. You tried to solve the problem hacked in the moment of attack." And he gave the rule. If X, then Y in advance, on paper. This isn't motivation, it's engineering. Modern psychology calls this implementation intentions. Plans in the format, if X happens, I will do Y. They systematically help people carry out intentions. NYU scholars. Hayato wrote, "If noise, earplugs, another room. If tired, 10 minutes of work, but not 0. If someone comes, I'll be back after the iron hour. If anxiety, 10 breaths and continue." And this is what happened. When the distraction arrived, he didn't discuss, he executed. By day 70, his mind became boring in the best sense. It was hard to knock him off, but fate prepared a heavier blow. Chapter 9. The day everything was burning. The big test. Disaster struck in the administration. In a neighboring province, deliveries were disrupted. The rice had to be redistributed in a single night. Errors meant hunger. Panic was already crawling through the corridors. The boss called Hayato back, temporarily, because there were no other precise scribes left. And here he is, sitting at night. Candles, shouts, messengers storm in every 10 minutes. People cry, someone curses. It's the perfect storm for distraction. Before, Hayato would have fallen apart. He would grab at everything, jump, check, save himself with chaos. But he did what he was taught. The gate ritual. One task, one sequence. And he remembered the monk's phrase. If the mind stops on one thing, the tree disappears. He didn't stop. By dawn, the tables were ready. No mistakes, clean, cold. The boss stared at the scrolls, as if he was seeing the impossible. How did you... Hayato didn't answer beautifully. He told the truth. I just closed the doors, and that was the moment he understood. Focus isn't pulling yourself together. Focus is not coming apart. But the last trap was still ahead. The trap of pride. Chapter 10. Dangerous silence. Identity shift plus finale. After that night, people started noticing Hayato. And you know what they said? You became strange. You're too serious. It's like you're always here. Some even got angry, because a focused person is a mirror. Next to him, excuses look cheap. And this matters. The biggest mistake after progress is to start feeding the ego. Counting days, showing off, seeking recognition. Because then your focus becomes dependent on reward again. The monk told Hayato, the last step is to become someone who doesn't hold focus, but someone who cannot live any other way. And Hayato did the final thing. He stopped measuring, stopped celebrating, stopped explaining himself. Focus stopped being a project and became an environment, like breathing. And here you return to that idea from the ancient texts. When a person reaches depth on the path, the body knows what to do, and the mind doesn't stick. That is what iron focus is. Not tension, not willpower, but the absence of stickiness. You don't cling, you don't jump, you walk. And now a question for you. If you made it to this point, you're already not the majority. Most people would have gotten distracted. Write in the comments one thing you will remove today. One door you will close. Notifications, social media, desk chaos, endless checks, extra conversations. Because focus doesn't start by adding habits. It starts by removing trash. Subscribe, hit like, and step into the next part of the path. And remember, productivity that scares other people is the only kind worth anything.